Poor Nanny comforted a terrified little girl at the park, unaware. Her father was a millionaire CEO. The little girl's scream cut through the laughter of the busy park like a knife through glass. Heads turned, mothers glanced over, but no one moved. She stood near the swings, clutching her tiny teddy bear, her face pale, eyes wide with fear as though the world had suddenly become too big, too loud, too frightening. Sitting quietly on a bench not too far away, Maria looked up from the worn-out paperback novel she had borrowed from the library. Her heart clenched. She didn't hesitate. She never did when it came to children. Maria was a nanny, though most of the world dismissed her as just a nanny. Her life was simple and hard, her pay barely covering the rent of her tiny one-room apartment. But what she lacked in money, she made up for in a boundless heart. Children trusted her. She had a way of getting down to their level, seeing the world through their eyes and easing their fears. She set her book aside and rushed toward the girl, crouching low so their eyes met. "Hey, sweetheart," she whispered gently. "Are you okay? Did something scare you?" "Duh." The little girl's lip trembled. I lost my daddy," she stammered, clutching the bear tighter. Her cheeks were wet with tears. Maria wrapped her arms around the girl, giving her the kind of hug that promised safety, even in a frightening world. "It's all right," Maria soothed, rocking her slightly. "You're safe. We'll find him together. You're not alone." And for the first time since she had lost sight of her father, the little girl let out a shaky breath and clung to Maria as though she'd found an anchor in a storm. What Maria didn't no one around knew was that this little girl wasn't just anybody's daughter. She was the only child of Alexander Reed, a name whispered in boardrooms and splashed across financial magazines. Self-made millionaire CEO, Alexander was as feared in the corporate world as he was admired. To most, he was untouchable, powerful, cold, always in control. But at that moment, Alexander Reed was none of those things. He was a frantic father running across the park, calling his daughter's name with desperation, cracking his usually commanding voice. His expensive suit was creased, his tie loosened, his eyes wild as though nothing else in the world mattered except finding her. And then he saw her. There she was, safe in the arms of a stranger. A woman with plain clothes, tired eyes, but a warmth that struck him harder than he expected. His daughter was no longer trembling. She was smiling. "Daddy." The little girl cried, wriggling free from Maria's arms and rushing to him. He dropped to his knees, scooping her up, burying his face in her hair. Relief poured from him like a dam finally breaking. Maria stepped back, quietly, ready to fade into the background as she always did. She never expected thanks. Comforting children was simply what she did. But then, Alexander's sharp eyes met hers. "You." His voice was rough, unsteady. "You comforted her." Maria gave a small smile, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. She was scared. "I just stayed with her until you came. Any mother or nanny would have done the same." But his daughter clung to him and shook her head. "No, Daddy, not anyone. She made me feel safe." Those words struck deeper than Maria realized, because Alexander read the man who had built an empire, who negotiated billion-dollar deals with an iron will. Kadeen, T. Remember the last time someone had made his daughter feel safe? His world was endless meetings, flights, and responsibilities. He had money, power, and prestige, but his daughter often felt like a shadow in it all. He stood, studying Maria. Her clothes were worn, her shoes scuffed, and there was a quiet exhaustion in her eyes. But there was also something else. Kindness. Right. The kind that couldn't be bought, taught, or faked. "Thank you," he said sincerely, and those words weren't ones he gave lightly. Maria shook her head. "No thanks needed. She's a sweet girl. Just remember." She hesitated, then added softly, "Sometimes all a child needs is someone to sit with them, to listen, to remind them they're not alone." And with that, she turned to leave. But Alexander didn't let her fade into the crowd. Something inside him shifted, something he couldn't quite explain. He called after her, learning her name, asking questions, listening in a way he rarely did with anyone outside his boardroom. That day became a turning point. Over the weeks that followed, Alexander found reasons, at first professional, then undeniably personal, to see Maria again. He hired her occasionally to look after his daughter, telling himself it was practical. But it wasn't just practicality. He saw how his daughter laughed more freely, how her fears seemed lighter, how bedtime no longer meant tears when Maria was around. And slowly, without either of them planning it, Maria became more than just a nanny. She became a confidant, a gentle reminder of what truly mattered. Of course, it wasn't easy. Maria battled her own insecurities. "I don't belong in your world," she told him once. "You're you. And You're not just anything," Alexander interrupted firmly. "You're the person who gave my daughter peace when I couldn't. You're the person who made me realize that wealth means nothing if it can bring happiness to the people we love." In the end, the millionaire CEO didn't fall for the glamorous women in his circles. He fell for the poor nanny who knelt on the grass of a public park, wiped a child's tears, and reminded him what it meant to be human. Maria taught him that being present was more valuable than any business deal. And Alexander showed her that sometimes even the most powerful men long for the simple magic of love and family. And the little girl, the one who was once terrified and alone, grew up, never doubting for a moment that she was safe, loved, and cherished. Because on that ordinary day in the park, when a poor nanny comforted a terrified little girl, none of them knew their lives would change forever. But they did, and it was love the kind. You can't put a price on that. Bound them together. Inspiring message. No matter how much wealth, power, or success someone has, the most valuable gift in life is love, kindness, and the courage to show up for others. Sometimes the smallest act of compassion can change the course of someone's entire life.